started from the bottom, now we here. In this video, I'm gonna talk about how Drake became an absolute hip hop icon and built an incredibly powerful brand. Let's talk about it. What up, y'all? I am Liz Marie, brand strategist for women and BIPOC entrepreneurs. And in this series, Badass Brand Breakdown, I go behind the scenes of some of my favorite brands to help you understand how branding actually works. So I remember the first time I heard Drake, it was back in 2008, and I became obsessed with his first two mixtapes. And this was still like LimeWire, download illegally kind of days. I was living in Spain at the time and I knew no one who was even remotely interested in him. But best believe I was rocking that shit all day, every day. And who would have thought way back then that he would become the ultimate icon that he is today, named Artist of the Decade for the 2010s, and has absolutely dominated music as well as pop culture since he really emerged. In terms of Drake's actual brand, I would say his approach has been a little bit similar to LeBron James, who I talk about in another Badass Brand Breakdown, in that it hasn't been necessarily a written out brand strategy like I might create for one of my clients, but it has been very, very calculated. He knew exactly what he was getting into by going into this industry. In fact, he was in entertainment from a very young age and has made very strategic, very savvy decisions all along to become so marketable and really just a global icon. In terms of core message, which is the single most important message about his brand, it might be something like king of the charts or even the MJ of hip hop, because so much of his success has been on this undeniable dominance over the past decade or even really 15 years. And he has brought that kind of hero mentality that you might see typically in an athlete or sports brand like a Nike or Jordan into the hip hop game in a way that we haven't really seen prior. And you can see that really clearly in his brand personality. So Drake is totally a hero brand, the classic archetype of an athlete or this kind of conquering achiever. He brings that confidence, that swagger, that endless achievement, that pursuit of mastery, but he actually does it in a pretty unique way that we hadn't seen in hip hop prior to then. So he brings a lot of these contradictions, really just in the fact that he is both black and white. He has these two different identities that are sometimes at odds or that really inform who he is. Whether you believe this or not, some people say he is, just white enough for mainstream America, and that really speaks to the prejudice of our society, but there is some truth in that, and that he is socially acceptable to a broad audience. He can speak to his Jewish mom and his dad who grew up in like the hood of Memphis, and both things are true to him. So he has really broad appeal, can relate to people on a lot of different levels. But those contradictions or that balance of two different traits really goes even further beyond that. So he's a rapper and a singer. So his music has kind of the trap elements sometimes or the hood elements, but also has like this R&B side and this emotion that we hadn't seen from rappers prior to this. He really brought a lot of vulnerability and honesty emotionally, but then balance that with like the swagger that you typically see in a hip hop artist. He can be really charming and almost non-threatening, like when he's kind of the face of a big brand. But then he also has enough credibility to be respectful when he's talking shit in his songs. So really writing this line of like the mainstream and then the nichier audiences. And then you even see that in like kind of the serious side of his songs, but a lot of humor that he brings into his performances, into his media appearances, being on SNL. He's known for being a really funny guy and has a lot of acting experience. So again, riding that line of being able to be versatile and malleable to different people. And that is a unique spin. There's a lot of depth to that we don't always see in a hero brand. Now let's talk brand tactics or brand pillars. These are kind of the key themes or strategies that he has used to really stand out or maintain this dominance and forge his way as a brand. So the first is really doing it his way. And this is that authenticity that I believe you see in every single successful brand. There's that uniqueness and the raw quality of this is who I am, this is how I'm gonna do it. With Drake, that started from the very beginning. He has this line, Rich off of mixtape, where he really blew up straight from mixtapes. He won a Grammy off of mixtape. He didn't even drop an album until he was already years and years into the game, like very widely respected respected and already rich. That was definitely unique. But that hasn't been the only way he's done it. Really his dominance, again, that personality of the balance of different sides, the rapping and the singing, all of those were really unique and innovative at the time, and many grew to copy them. In fact, he really changed the landscape of hip hop or pop rap and melded that R&B and hip hop in a way that hadn't really been done before. He put on his whole team, which we'll talk about more in a bit. He redefined what a rapper looks and talks and acts like. Plus he's Canadian, and we hadn't really seen that huge of a powerhouse in the hip hop world from Canada prior to Drake. The second brand tactic he used was volume, as in volume of music, the quantity, but also the quality and the versatility within it. So Drake is prolific. He has put out so much music since he emerged, and not just so much music, so much good music. It seems like it has been hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. Like he cannot lose. And that is unique. So while lyrically, he's not necessarily put on the Mount Rushmore of, you know, all-time greats like some people consider Biggie or Pac or Jay-Z or something, or even like current greats like a Kendrick or a J. Cole, he's still in that conversation because of his straight up dominance commercially and from a mainstream standpoint. Since he emerged, he has put out 6 studio albums, 3 compilation albums, 2 extended plays, 7 mixtapes, 139 singles, including 80 as a featured artist, 5 promotional singles, and 84 music videos. That is a fucking lot of music. And I guarantee most of those have been hits, if not all across the board. He hasn't had an unsuccessful album. In fact, one of the ways he's changed the game is that instead of just having singles that are successful, most of the time his entire album charts. And that is just a level of consistency and dominance that we really haven't seen. The third tactic he has used is transparency and gossip. So this is something he's done within his raps where he'll put himself on blast in his music. He'll talk about who he's dated or like the women that did him wrong or that like rejected him. He'll put his own business out there and it becomes fodder for gossip, for conversation. Like it's almost a publicity tactic, but it also creates this rawness of like, oh, this dude's keeping it really real. And by being that straight up about who he is and kind of beating you to the punch, he's made it hard for people to really have ammo to like talk shit about him because he did it first. He knows exactly who he is and he's gonna tell you about it before you can even get there. And then the last tactic that he has really employed is putting brand over marketing. And what I mean by this is he has emphasized creating an overarching brand presence versus putting tons of money specifically into like targeted marketing campaigns. So for example, he's known to drop his albums pretty suddenly, like boom, there's an album out overnight without all of this lead up and like the traditional marketing spend that you might see behind it, because he's a brand, he's an icon, he can do that. And he puts more of his money into overall visibility than a specific marketing campaign. And that's one of the reasons that his albums can be so successful versus just a straight up single. And it's one of the reasons that so many brands are striving to work with him and partner with him, because he has that visibility. He's just generally known for putting out hot shit, for being successful, and that translates so he doesn't have to do as much of the like day-to-day legwork because he has that brand equity. And again, like LeBron James, that was strategic and designed deliberately from the beginning to really create that strategy and build it up over time. In terms of visual identity, Drake definitely has an overall art direction. He has the OVO brand, October's Very Own, and the owl logo that has become pretty iconic. He has it tattooed on his body. But even if you don't know OVO, he is known for this kind of like Scorpio brand, which I can relate to very much as a Scorpio, with a lot of moodiness, kind of dark, dim art direction, a lot of like really creative album covers. But the biggest component of Drake's brand, like we've seen with many of these other icons, is his brand activation. So those are all of the different ways that he puts his brand out into the world, makes money, and spreads his influence. So the first and foremost is with his music, and like we have said, he is a hit maker. Drake has hits. So Drake is the highest certified digital singles artist ever, with 142 million units based on sales and streams. Basically, since the digital era, he is the most successful artist that has existed, which is insane. And that's just the beginning of his records. He holds records on every chart, like dominated the Hot 100, so many singles, so many #1s, whole albums on the chart, things that were really unprecedented, especially in hip hop, and really part of this trend and this shift towards hip hop becoming like the mainstream dominant form of music and really making it at the forefront of pop culture. And as I mentioned, he was named Artist of the 2010s, top selling artist, and really just everywhere at all times. And he has translated that success into many, many business ventures, from endorsements with brands like Sprite and Burger King to actual business partnerships. So he is aligned with a bunch of major brands. He's an ambassador for the Toronto Raptors. He has a very lucrative partnership with Apple Music and is considered to be one of the reasons Apple Music was so successful and really took off. He is signed with Nike and Jordan brand, which was the first hip hop artist, as far as I know, to have his own shoes with Jordan. And that really aligns with how he has consistently aligned himself with sports culture and seeing himself in the same way as an athlete with that same rigorous, relentless approach to success. And he's also partnered with Bathing Ape. He has launched his own clothing brand through OVO, as well as OVO Sound, which has brought us many of my favorite artists, including Party Next Door, Division, Majid Jordan, Roy Woods, Boy Wonder, the producer, of course 40, one of his best friends and producers. He has also launched side businesses, 100 Thieves, a gaming company. He's co-founder and co-owner of Virginia Black Whiskey. He's even influenced the American language with YOLO, which existed prior to Drake, but really entered the lexicon and became commonly understood through his music and the popularity of it. So hopefully now you have gained an understanding into why Drake's brand is so powerful and so successful, and maybe can apply some of those tactics to your own brand. If there's one takeaway I would give you, it is that consistency is everything, and Drake is definitely a perfect example of that. If you're looking for some more help creating your own brand, check out my brand archetypes guide. You can download it below. It'll help you find your own distinct personality and set you on your way to building a powerful brand of your own. Until next time, stay badass. All right, y'all, if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down there. And check me out at LizMarieStrategy or LizMarieStrategy.com.